Hello and welcome. Welcome to Biotopia and welcome to our last Wednesday evening of the spring. So we will be back with more stuff in the autumn after the summer. My name is Daniel and I work here at Biotopia. With me I have Agnès Brosset.
Bonjour. I have the French coming up. Hello.
Hello. So you have been with us before, and today you have a special presentation about something touching on what you've already been talking about, but a little bit different, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So for all of you watching online, if you have any questions, you're free to ask them in the chat, and we'll make sure that Agnès gets a chance to answer them. Perfect. And with that, I leave you to it.
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. So, raise your hand, any of you who has one or several of these products at home. So, spice in the spice cabinet. Do you have tea bags? Do you have maybe herbal supplement? Or maybe you have essential oil? I have almost all of them. Yeah. And can you say to me right now where these herbs come from? Where they have been produced, how they have been produced, in which country, how long they have been harvested before they end up in those products. Do we really know what is inside our cup of tea? 2 weeks ago, Yogi Bags has been recalled over excess of pesticides residue. Where this pesticide came from? Did they come from the paper bag? Or did they come from the herbs inside? Where they have been produced? How? Since how long? How many distances have we been doing before they reach us? This is question we ask for food we consume, such as meat, vegetables and fruit. So why don't we also ask those questions for every herbs we are consuming? My name is Agnès. I am a plant ecologist and also a herb producer based in Uppsala, and I help to connect people to nature by producing and promoting local herbs. And tonight we are going to discover what is behind our cup of tea and the downside of the herbs industry. Today, more and more people are looking for natural alternatives to maintain a good health and well-being. And it's become more and more popular every year when the global market for medicinal plants is rising and is planned to reach $350 million by 2030. But where are all these herbs are present in many places in our house? More than what we might think. We find herbs in pharmaceuticals. Today there is still a quarter of all our pharmaceutical drugs that come from plants. We found them in health supplements that become more and more popular. We found them in cosmetics. We found them in food, in drinks, and also in our spice cabinet. Also today, there is still 80% of the world population that rely on medicinal plant as the primary health care system. But where do all these plants come from? So in the nature, in the world, there is about 300 to 400,000 plant species estimated to exist. Among them, there is about 50,000 that are known or estimated to have medicinal use. Among these 50,000, 3,000 are already traded in the world. The China and India are the main producer and exportator of medicinal plants, come after the Mediterranean area and Eastern Europe. Germany is the country #1 to import herbs in the world. But did you know that all these plants who are trading today, 60 to 90% of them are still today wild harvested? And why? Because many medicinal plants grow on remote places with hard climate, such as the mountain in Tibet, Siberia, or Lapland. And also, most of these plants are slow-growing perennials. They are low-flowering, low germination rate. To reach a mature stage, it can take several years. And to reach the stage and enough develop part of plant we want to harvest for medicinal use, it might take 7 to 8 years. And so it's not economically viable to grow them. First, it's difficult to succeed. And secondly, it will need to wait at least 5 years before you can make money from your harvest. So these are strong limitations why these plants are harvested. But the demand in medicinal plants is still rising. And this has consequences. We are every year harvesting from the nature more than they can regenerate. And so more and more medicinal plants today wild harvested are threatened of extinction. Here it's an example of a golden seed, which is classified now as vulnerable in United States. And this United Plant Saver in America is trying to assess which medicinal plants are today in danger of extinction. And at risk, they have already the American ginseng, bloodroot, echinacea, gentian, white sage, which is still foundable in the shops that you can burn for your house. And in review, more known also in Europe, we have arnica, chaga, and eyebright. Eyebright, it's a plant which is protected in Sweden, but it can't be harvested. And among these plants, so these 50,000, only 7% has been assessed whether they were at risk of extinction or not. And among that, 1 every 5 of these 7% has been found to be. So 20% maybe of medicinal plants today are threatened of extinction. And what are the causes of this threat? Of course, the wild plant collection, which is too important compared to how much can regenerate, due to also the economical pressure that bring population to harvest those plants. And also the development of residential and commercial area. So there's more and more town and less place for nature. So that was about the one who are wild harvested. And what about the one who are cultivated? So India and China are the main producer. So most of the plants are produced there. And this picture comes from a producer in India. So if, like the yogi tea bags, if your bags is not written as organic, your plant probably has been sprayed with pesticides. And then plants are dried in dusty places and cleaned on the road, often by poor populations, before being sent to Europe. What about in Europe? We have said that there is also the Mediterranean area and the Eastern Europe, which is also cultivated herbs. In Europe, among all the pesticides used 27% is used for medicinal plant crops. We know the impact on pesticide on the environment. It targets non-target insect, for example, for like pollinator, flying insect. It pollutes our lands, our soils, but it's also a problem for human health. And this is even more important because medicinal plants, so herbs, compared to vegetables, are not washed before being processed because the process that follows is drying. So there is high probability of contamination of pesticide into our herbal tea and spice apothecary. In Europe, it's only 7% of the market which is today organic. In France also, we have monocrops of lavender. Beautiful, but they are monocrops. And now, with climate change, it poses also a problem. With climate change, there is an increase of pests. Leaf hopper that graze on the plant carry a bacteria, and this bacteria will cause a disease to plant. And when climate is warming, this leafhopper reproduce much faster and can infest the crop much faster. And since the crop it's a monocrop, there is low diversity, genetic diversity, so low adaptability and easy susceptibility to spread the disease around. So every year, a lot of producers are losing more and more crops of lavender. So this was about how herbs are produced or wild harvested. What happened after, before they come to have a cup of tea? So a normal chain supply, a conventional chain supply, a herb will change hands 6 times before reaching the consumer. And all the information, where it has been harvested, how, is loose on the way. And often what we found in our herb package, if you look behind where the herbs come from, we have only one information left from outside Europe or inside Europe. That's all. And there is also any fraud, substitution that can happen on the way. This is a scientific study, data from a scientific study that I have taken. So they have done a DNA test into herbs package to see which herbs were actually present in the package. And they found that some plants labeled as oregano and sage were actually olive leaves. And in this study, it was even worse. Some paprika and turmeric were corn starch with pigment inside. So this poses problems for health. Some people can get allergic reaction to something that should not be. And also the presence of pesticides, because olive trees are easily spread with chemicals. This adulteration can happen intentionally or not. So sometimes it's just along the way, a bag which has been labeled for a certain plant that is then later on labeled as another kind of plant, because on the paper it's written a certain kind of plant type. But it can be also intentionally, so why some oregano is replaced with bay leaf? Simply because it's cheaper. So, do we really know what is in our cup of tea? I'm sorry, you may have take tea tonight. Now you may be a bit disgusted. But no, unfortunately, we don't know. And we need alternative of that. We need an alternative market. Another problem also in Sweden is today Sweden is 100% reliant on importation for medicinal plants. There is no producer in Sweden. So this has cost on the environment also. There is distance in transportation and release in greenhouse gases. Sweden is dependent on country And from my own search of where the herbs were from, I found Czech Republic, Poland, so Eastern Europe being Egypt, so we find here again the Mediterranean area, and India and China. And this can lead to risk of shortage. We have seen that of many products during the COVID pandemic. And so higher price when there is shortage, but also because of importation fee. And the quality of herbs might be reduced because most of the herbs are not being harvested a few weeks ago, but mostly some years ago before they arrive to us. And this is a photo that I have taken from a herb package sale in Sweden of bay leaf. And this is how bay leaf look like. So you can see a big difference in color, and a plant which is not having a vibrant color, so which is brown or beige, is often a sign for low quality plant because it's old. So we need an alternative to that. And we need a sustainable industry of herbs. And ecological is not enough. It just doesn't need only to be organic. It needs to be also economically sustainable and socially sustainable. Because we have seen that when there is economical pressure, the poor population are motivated to harvest in the wild more and more plants because it's a good business. So to limit that, we need locally produced herbs, transparency. We want to know what is in our cup of tea. Fresh and high quality. Often, when you have high quality, you also need less plant. Low carbon footprint, so some plants who are coming from closer, more sustainable cultivation and foraging practices. And I believe also education on knowing how to use plant, and also which plant, for example, that come from far away can be replaced with more locally present plants. And this is what I have aimed to do here with Nordiska Örter, which is the first herb production in Sweden that I am leading and which is based in Uppsala. It's even closer than what you may think. From this year, 2024 till the following years, it's gonna be at Hospital Trädgården in Ulleråker. So very, very close to us. It's gonna be in the educational permaculture farm where we'll be also grow vegetables. And we will be workshop to empower you on how to use herbs. And this production is established in collaboration with Uppsala Matroad and also Uppsala Kommun with Nordiska Örter. So, how are the cultivation practices locally? So, we are having a no-dig permaculture garden. And this is to promote a healthy soil life. We will not have monoculture. We have culture association, companion crop to promote also biodiversity. Of course, we are not going to use pesticide. It's going to be organic. And there are also forage herbs for the herbal tea, some that are not needed to be grown, but it's only abundantly present plant such as sticking nettles. And all plants are harvested in remote places, far away from crops and the roots. And as soon as I harvest the plant, they are dried in the herb dryer, electric or passive like this one. And as soon as they are dried within 1 to 3 days, they are packaged into herbal tea like this one. So, with Nordiska Örter, I really proposed you a farm to package option now in Sweden. So, there is no more supply chain. It's from me to you. And you have transparency on the cultivation and the foraging practices. We are actually having volunteers over the summer to help us. So you can also come and see how, if with your own eyes and help us with your own hands to produce these herbs. And of course, they are clean, high quality. And because I was out of stock from the production 2023, every year now, every herbs that will be produced now come from the production of this year, so will be produced like in a few weeks. So fresh herbs coming from year to year. So, do you still want to drink that cup of tea? Or do we change for a more sustainable industry by promoting the local producer and that respect the environment and your health? Thank you very much, and your questions are very, very welcome.
Sorry, let me just walk my way past here. Hello. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's very specific to one of the things that you said. Why can you not wash herbs that are going to be dried?
Yeah, it's a good, because the humidity concentration would just be too high, and then you have risk of molding, like mold to develop.
So it won't have time to dry, basically, before it starts molding.
Exactly. Yeah. And another reason it's that you will need then to increase the temperature of drying to really release the water as soon as possible. But when you do that, you also release all the aromatic compounds that are very volatile. So more it's heated, more also all the aromatic compound, the taste, it's also going with. So, yeah, that's why.
Well, that's a very good answer, I must say. Anybody have any questions? I will take a look at our chat, but I don't think we have any questions there either.
We have one here. Yeah.
Yes. In view of everything you said, what type of advice would you feel to offer to people when they buy, plant-derived products, like for medicinal, for drinking? Like, what should we look in the label actually, rather than the ones you mentioned before, like the physical characteristics, if they're green or if they look fresh, or what type of advice would you feel like offering to us?
Yeah. So, which kind of advice I would give to people when they are buying tea? First, I would recommend to buy organic. I think first of all, and to watch at that. And secondly, to buy in bulk. So more, not the tea bags, but you can find in supermarket in bulk, So because there is also glue and chemicals into the paper bag, so that's not really recommended, because most of the time people are looking to buy herbal tea for well-being and health. So it's better to prefer in bulk and organic.
And in terms of what countries we should buy them from, like where they've been produced, would you advise to select those from Europe, or just to avoid buying from India or China?
Yeah. So in priority, Sweden, of course. And secondly, I would say Europe. France, it's a big producer of medicinal plant, for example. So you can look at there. Then there is Eastern Europe. So Eastern Europe, organic. It has to be organic, preferentially.
So which countries actually have the stronger regulations in terms of quality? Like,
So definitely Europe,
yeah, okay.
and unfortunately all country in Europe, or lucky, not necessarily unfortunately, but all country in Europe are under the same regulation. So for production, so the quality will be the same regulation in every country in Europe.
Thank you.
Another question?
I do, yeah. Thank you, first of all, Agnès, for your presentation. I think I wanted to know a little bit more about what flavors or what herbs are you using? I don't think I heard that on your presentation. What flavors? And then the second question is if you might be able to explain a little bit more about maybe your specific initiative. Is it a private thing? And how does it sit in with the Roker kind of development as such?
Yeah.
Because that, I think, is also a bigger thing that is quite interesting for the city, and how can people get involved if that's a possibility?
Yes, totally. So I think, So this is for knowing which flavor or which tea I am producing. So that's the list of the production of this year. So this is a single herbs, and this is like more the blend of herbal tea that are more beverage tea. So I do crop locally, like European plant. We have also Echinacea, which is from United States. So yes, and for the project in Roker, actually, so for me, Nordiska Örter, it's a limited private company. And Uppsala Matrod, so the permaculture garden, is a non-profit organization. And you can get involved by volunteering there. So they will be, so either with me or either with Uppsala Matrod. We work together.
Okay, I have another question quickly here. About scale. So your company will be producing a certain amount of herbs, right?
Yeah.
And you said that you're already sold out.
Yeah.
How much room do you think? How many percent of the Swedish market do you think you are able to serve at the scale that you're at right now? Or how many more companies could there fit in Sweden?
Okay.
To make it self-reliant on...
To be self-reliant. Yeah. That's a very hard question, I have to say. The market is quite big, actually. It depends if what we put into the market. Like, do we put the spices also? Do we put the... so if I go back to the first page of the presentation, yeah, I could also put the pharmaceutical, but like it's so huge. If you include also the spice, the herbal tea, the herb supplements, because we can imagine that the herbs that are produced locally can be sold to companies who are making those supplements, or if they are used fresh, they can also be sent to companies who are making essential oils. So it's a very, very important market. So I could not say how much percent of the market local producer could cover. And do I cover now? It's just even not 1%. It's just so small. So, but there is opportunities for growth, definitely, and also places for other producers to come in. So that's also one of my long-term goals in this garden in Roker, is not only to produce herbs, and we are not looking for just producing herbs and vegetables. We are looking also both for herbs, but also for vegetables, to develop an educational program for how we can form more and more farmers locally, and that can sustain themselves economically in Sweden, both for herbs producer, but also vegetables producer.
Great. So just to be very, very clear now, let's say somebody is watching this right now or in the future, and they're thinking, oh, maybe I want to, it seems interesting, but I don't know if I really dare do it to start my own company working with this in the way that you are working.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Dare it. Take the risk. Yeah, definitely. It's very hard. So to be honest, I'm also starting with that. So I am not myself sustainably economical. My economy is not sustainable now, but I find it very worth it. It's worth it because the mission of bringing locally produced and organic and high quality herbs is just so powerful because it's just not existent yet here. And people need those herbs. So it's not only for the environment, it's also for people's health. So do it, dare it, take the risk, and join me. Like, come in contact with me, and don't do it alone. Do it with people surrounding you, because that's also, for me, I have got a lot of support surrounding me. I thanks a lot Uppsala Matroad for that, Uppsala Kommun too, Drivu Set also, who has and still support me on this journey. So you should not be doing it alone. And I have a lot of colleagues herbalists who are also supporting me. So just come and do it with me. So you are not together, you are not alone, and is, I think, more fun and greater like this.
Great. I think if we don't have any more questions, we have one more question here.
In what consists volunteering and how I can get involved?
Yeah, so I will leave again my contact information. So maybe I have them. No, I don't have them here. So now, most of the volunteering will be done with me, so on the herbs production, simply because this year at Örter we are starting with the herbs production, and next year they will be also volunteering for the more urban permaculture vegetables production. So you simply contact me. So you can contact me via Instagram or my email address, and there will be some days. We are actually very soon looking for volunteers because we are setting the garden beds in Örter. So we will need a lot of handwork. So that is how you can volunteer for the moment. So we have like a group of volunteers and a WhatsApp group, and we put you on that. And when we need so, we let you know.
Any opportunity for foraging? Like, I would like to contribute with that, yeah, if it's possible. Like, if I can collect some plants and for the company.
So definitely,
Okay.
they will be. So on these days, it can be either like maintaining the garden, planting plants, setting the garden beds, but it can also be foraging day. And foraging day also are great. Because directly after we put them on the herbs dryer, so you can see also how I dry herbs. And later during the season, I think I will also need help for packaging the herbs into the tea bags. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No more questions? In that case, please let us applaud you for this wonderful presentation.
Tack.